whatever you're interested in and whatever you're good at school, you can probably find a job on the railway that will make the most of the things that you know.
Hello, my name's Emma-Louise and welcome to LNER Kids Club, your podcast where we explore all about LNER and the amazing train that you're on today. Coming up in this electrifying podcast, trains that generate their own power, recycling waste to make new train parts, and inventions so futuristic they sound like science fiction. Welcome to Tracks to the Future.
I'm Lauren, your conductor of carbon-free facts and brilliant inventions. We've also got some games and quizzes, and we'll find out some more facts about the Azuma trains.
So, buckle your solar seatbelt, switch your brain to eco mode, and join us on a journey to discover the railways of the future. Did you know that trains are one of the greenest ways to travel? Today, most long-distance passenger trains are powered by electricity.
Wow, they'll need a big plug for that, won't they?
I don't know if that's how it works.
A typical electric train uses a significant amount of electricity to operate. Overhead cables supplying the electricity to trains carry 25,000 volts. That's 100 times stronger than household electricity.
That is really strong. But when you travel, doing it in a way that causes the least emissions is the most responsible way to travel. That's where trains have an advantage over other forms of transport which cover long distances, like cars and planes.
And when LNER launched the Azuma trains in 2019, it got rid of its old fleet of diesel high-speed trains, which helped remove unnecessary diesel consumption in areas where overhead cables are available.
Trains for destinations north of Edinburgh run electric mode from King's Cross to Edinburgh and then switch to diesel to complete the remainder of the journey, where electrification is not available.
But not for long. LNER is introducing tri-mode trains that also run on batteries. That means more electric journeys and less pollution.
Battery-run trains, that's cool.
Yeah.
And even cooler, each Azuma is also doing its very own bit to help. Their regenerative brakes capture energy that's created from braking, while sensors automatically place carriages into low power mode when a train is idle and no movement has been detected.
Electric trains produce far fewer emissions than cars or planes.
Data shows LNER trains produce 7 times less carbon dioxide emissions than driving and 15 times less than flying.
And LNER's fleet of Azuma trains are leading the way.
They're super efficient thanks to regenerative braking and clever power-saving sensors. And now, time to play a game fit for eco explorers. We're calling this one Eco Bingo!
Here's how it works. Between you and your family and friends, suggest, say, 12 things to spot. Say, recyclable drink cups on board, a wind turbine or solar panels in a field, a recycling bin at a station, or perhaps a bird flying over a green field. Write them down on a piece of paper to create a bingo sheet.
When each player spots something on the bingo card, they cross it off. And the first to spot them all wins by shouting, bingo!
Or maybe, eco! What do you think trains of the future will look like? Maybe we'll be able to hop on a supersonic train or have trains that don't need rails at all and just hover. LNER's environmental goal is to be wholly net zero by 2045. And to help achieve this, they're putting technology at the heart of their operations and customers' journeys with a cool project called Future Labs.
That's right. And it's not just coming up with greener and cleaner ideas, but putting them to work in the real world too. Let's start at Berwick-upon-Tweed, a station that's going green in a seriously clever way.
LNER is working with a company called AlgaCraft to test microalgae bioreactors, little green tanks that slurp up carbon dioxide around stations. A little bit like Mother Nature with trees, but just 400 times more powerful and in less space. Each bioreactor occupies approximately 2 parking spaces.
Algae power, engage!
Next up, we're at Peterborough, where trash gets a techie twist.
This is the site of LNER's Recycling and 3D Printing Hub, where plastic waste from stations and trains is turned into plastic products, which are used by the railway. And, wait for it, even actual train parts, like a plug drainer for the train's kitchen.
They've already saved nearly 7 tonnes of CO2 just by turning old cups and containers into stuff. Recycling never tasted so good.
And being eco-friendly doesn't just happen at stations. Alongside the track, there are special wind turbines designed to catch the swoosh of passing trains.
How cool is that? It's basically capturing energy created by the trains. It's called Trever and is a modular design which is easy to install and maintain on the side of roads or railways and makes use of readily available land and could power infrastructure to support net zero transport systems. This clean electricity could be used in all sorts of ways to power various infrastructure components, such as train station lighting to ensure safe railway operations, heating and cooling systems for train care centres, or creating comfortable environments for passengers and staff. To tell us more, here's Caitlin, LNER's Environment Champion.
You know, the transport sector is a really big part of the UK's carbon footprint, and the railway is a really good solution to that. So getting more people to travel by rail and making sure the rail is as environmentally friendly as possible, that sounded really exciting to me. So that's how I got into LNER. I guess what is really interesting about what I do is how much kind of new and innovative projects we get to try out on the ground. So we do a lot of work with kind of small companies who've come up with new ideas that they want to try out in the rail industry, and that often gives us the most kind of interesting and exciting bits of work to do, to be honest, to really get out onto stations or on trains and try out new bits of technology and see what we can do to reduce our environmental impact. We've got a lot of different projects happening. So as a company, we've got a target to be net zero by 2045. So that means we're doing lots of work to reduce our emissions, but also to do other kind of environmentally sustainable things, like I was talking about before with that waste project that we're doing. So for our stations, we're doing things like investing in solar panels to give us greener energy. For our trains, we're doing trials with things like the batteries that I mentioned on our new fleet so that we can be more efficient. But we've got lots of kind of different projects that we're trialing out in different areas as well. So one of the ones that we're working on at the minute is we're working with a company that makes wind turbines that you can put next to the track. So they look a little bit different to like the traditional wind turbine that you might see in a field that looks like a windmill. They kind of work more like a roundabout, like the blade spins in the opposite direction. So the idea is that we can put those quite close to the railway tracks, and then as the train goes past, it produces loads of turbulence, and you might feel it when you stood on a platform. You get loads of airflow when trains go past really fast. So instead of just wasting all of that energy, these new turbines by the track they'll spin, as the trains go past, capture that energy, and then we can convert that into usable energy that we can use in our stations or our depots, things like that. So we're taking kind of that wasted energy and finding a use for it.
We want to know what you think the railways might look like and how they might operate in the future, whether that's 25, 50 or even 200 years.
I think trains in the future are going to be fast and furious and have Alexas.
I think trains are going to be faster and they're going to be more colourful. My future train would have hover boosters and be powered by the sun. And maybe jelly beans.
I think trains in the future will be powered by biofuel. Maybe trains of the future could go to the moon.
I think the trains of the future will be powered by hydrogen.
In the future, I think trains will be on less expensive materials so that we can make more train tracks.
I think trains will be like in the future where there might be over 1,000 miles per hour.
I think trains in the future will be powered by water and produce less fumes.
Think you could do better? Grab your pens, pull into the imagination station and start writing or drawing.
Brilliant. So, in this podcast, we've been delving into some of the environmental stories that are helping the railways become cleaner. You might not know, but 2025 is the 200th year anniversary of the modern rail network, and we're showcasing some of the highlights from the last 2 centuries.
First up, the mighty Deltic. This dazzling diesel locomotive was the king of speed back in the 1960s. It pulled high-speed express passenger services along the East Coast Main Line for 20 years. Deltic was designed with a distinctly American style, featuring curved chevrons on the nose and a cream and aluminium trim. 22 locomotives were built and 6 locomotives are preserved and are still running today.
Next up, an iconic station you might have visited if you've been on a trip to London, King's Cross. When King's Cross Station opened in 1852, it was the largest station in Britain.
Oh, I didn't actually know that, but I do know that it was designed by Louis Cubitt to be simple and functional, straight to the point. Now, the tunnels outside the station are called the gasworks tunnels and go underneath the Regent's Canal.
The steel and glass Western Concourse opened in March 2012.
And here's a fact for you. The area known as King's Cross got its name from a statue of King George IV erected at the crossroads outside the station. The monument itself was short-lived, being completed in 1836 and demolished in 1845, but the area kept the name.
Bet he's happy about that. Its blend of history and high-tech, and perhaps most importantly, it's home to Platform 9 3/4, made famous from the Harry Potter stories. Fancy casting a spell? Just don't forget your Hogwarts Express ticket. By the 1830s and 1840s, railways were connecting major industrial cities to coastal towns, and by the Victorian era, the seaside holiday had become a mainstream activity. The expansion of the railway network made places like Brighton, Blackpool, and Margate popular seaside destinations. The beach was no longer just for the elite, it was for everyone.
The introduction of the cheap day return ticket allowed people to escape from the cities for the day, offering a temporary reprieve from the smoke and soot of the Industrial Revolution. These seaside holidays were as much about escaping the grime of industrial life as they were about enjoying the fresh sea air and sunny beaches.
And trains drastically reduced travel time, allowing for longer holidays and easier day trips to the countryside and the coast.
Hello? What's that? Really? Now? Oh no, Lauren, the big boss wants to have a word.
Not the big boss. I hope we're not in trouble.
I'm David Horn. I'm the Managing Director of LNER.
David, what's it like being the big boss of LNER?
Well, when you're the big boss, you get to do lots of different things. It's a great job, and I'm really lucky to have a fantastic route that we run the trains on. So I travel around to see different stations and also meet lots of different people. Sometimes I can be talking to our customers, and other times I might be having a meeting with members of Parliament down in London. So lots of different things.
Talk us through a day in the life of David then. What do you do in an average day?
Well, one of the things I do when I wake up is I check whether we're ready for the day ahead, because our trains overnight go on to the depots and they get maintained and they get serviced, and that takes time. And so one of the things I always check is whether we've got enough trains to get us through the day. And you also, of course, have to check the weather forecast, because sometimes we're running trains and there'll be stormy weather or there'll be hot weather, and we have to think about that. And then I'll be travelling around, visiting different places, talking to different people. And some days, if I'm really lucky, I get to visit somewhere like a train maintenance depot and see what they do behind the scenes to keep our trains running.
How did you get to be a boss? How did you get your job?
I suppose I used to be really interested in trains and in travel and transport. I learned about lots of different topics and lots of hard work, of course. And I think one of the things that I do in my job is I try and look into the future, and we think about what do we want the railway to be like in 5 or 10 years' time, and then we try and create plans to make that happen. So we're developing new things all the time at LNER to try and make the service in the future better than it is today.
And what do you like most about your job?
Oh, I do like travelling around, and we've got a lovely route here at LNER, and we go to lots of fantastic places. But I also love travelling by train and seeing different people. It's always really interesting to find out who's travelling on our trains, what they're travelling for, and what they think of our train service. And of course, some people are travelling for work, some people are travelling to get to school, and some people are travelling to go on holiday, whether it's in UK or they're travelling to catch a plane or a ship or even another train, a Eurostar train maybe, to go further afield for their holiday. So it's always really interesting to talk to different people about why they're travelling with us.
You mentioned travelling to get to school. What sort of school subjects do you have to be good at to be able to do something that you do every day?
I always enjoyed topics like maths and geography as well, later on when I was at school. And I think that's been really helpful for the job I do now. But on the railway, there are lots of different jobs that people can do. You can be a train driver, you can work at a station, you can be an engineer on one of the depots. And for that, we need people who are good at lots of different subjects. So almost whatever you're interested in and whatever you're good at school, you can probably find a job on the railway that will make the most of the things that you know.
And knowing what you know now, is there any advice that you would give mini David, an 8-year-old version of yourself?
Well, that's a good question. I think I would say to myself, go and find out how things work, because the railway is quite complicated. And actually, when you work in the railway industry, it's really interesting to find out how things work, but also find out about different places as well, because we're taking our customers from their home location to different places, and that's what makes the railway work. That we think about that a lot. So different places like London, like York, Leeds and Edinburgh, they're all different, and so finding out about the different places that the trains connect is also something that I would advise myself to go and get interested in if I was 8 years old again.
LNER trains and lines have some incredible views on them. I think one of my favourites is just before we pull into Edinburgh. What's yours, though?
Oh, this is a hard decision. There's lots of great things to see when you're travelling on the LNER route. But I tell you what, I think the route that goes up to Aberdeen in Scotland is my favourite. We go from Edinburgh along the coast, over the Forth Bridge, and then over the Tay Bridge as well, via Dundee and up to Aberdeen. And the trains run along the sea. You can see the beaches, you can go along the cliffs, and lots of different viaducts and bridges you go over on the way to Aberdeen. And that's probably my favourite. There's lots of interesting things to look out for.
Whew, thank goodness for that. I think we're allowed to carry on. I was worried we were in trouble.
We went to York to meet some young LNER passengers to see if they had any good train jokes. And oh boy, they had some very good train jokes. Take a listen.
What do you call a train full of chewing gum? A choo-choo train.
What do you call a haunted locomotive? A freight engine.
Why don't ghosts like rain? It dampens their spirits. What's a ghost's favourite dessert? Ice cream. Why don't ghost trains ever arrive on time? Because they go off the rails every time someone says boo. What do you call a haunted locomotive? A freight engine.
Those were ridiculous. I love them.
Those jokes could give me enough nervous energy for a whole train journey, which brings me, very neatly, onto how much energy it takes to power a train. It's time to go back to Caitlin, LNER's environmental champion, who has been telling us about the batteries that are going to be on the new Zuma trains.
We've been looking at how far could a train travel just on battery power. So we don't necessarily know the answers yet, but we think they can probably go at least 50 miles on a battery at the minute, but we need it to go further to cover all of our routes. So we're working with suppliers to look at how we develop that technology and how we can use it. So the new trains are going to be tri-mode trains, or we have the bi-mode trains at the minute, which run on electricity and diesel. These new trains are going to be tri-mode, which means they've got 3 different fuel sources. So they could run on electricity, they can run on diesel, and they can also run on battery. they'll charge up when the trains are connected to the electricity network. When they're not, they'll then run on battery power for as long as they can until that battery's run flat, and then they can kick into diesel mode.
So, from algae that gobble up CO2 to wind-powered railways and 3D printing trash into treasure, we hope you've enjoyed this track to the future.
Just remember, every time you ride the train instead of taking a trip in the car, you're helping the planet. And who knows, maybe one day you'll invent something that makes travel even greener.
So, next time you're riding the rails, keep your eyes peeled. The future is already on board.
Thanks for joining us, and until next time, stay on track and stay green.